learn, so they can adapt and survive well in their swiftly changing world. It is important to contemplate how our English teachers should facilitate this exchange of ideas with their students. Can globalization help out our society to be better? How should teachers adjust their syllabus because of this new development and style of living, and how they can get ready for their students to connect with emerging intercontinental associations? The following are the examples of discussion issues the two authors suggest for English language curricula. First example, we focused on global health issues such as HIV or AIDS. As an example of the connection between disease and the globalization, AIDS has gone beyond national boundaries. For medical or science majors, research associated with AIDS can be a significant topic. This medical conundrum started in the 1980s. So far, the best treatment found have resulted in achieving the prestigious Nobel Prize in Physiology of Medicine. The HIV virus exists in the lymph nodes of recently infected patients, and then produce large quantity of white blood cells, while inducing the death of cells of kind that is missing in patients who suffer from AIDS. HIV acts like a chameleon. Each patient carries a distinctive virus variant, which could hide in the whole cell genome without being known. Regarding learning pedagogies, the vast amount of updated online information offered by YouTube or Wikipedia inspires students to discover solutions by scientific process. On the other hand, discussing the numerous social concepts related to the issue also raise awareness about infectiousness and the irreversibleness, possibly protecting themselves from being infected. It may also encourage them to connect with these issues to other serious medical emergencies, such as severe acute respiratory syndrome, or Ebola virus disease, or COVID-19, that is about coronavirus. So based on the physiology graph, we will see the AIDS of syndrome can be in all organs of our body. That will not be ever cured because the vaccine has never been created so far to be very effective and efficient. Let's see another two examples about global warming. Climate change and global warming is one of the most life-threatening problems, and the only way to solve this headache is through global technological cooperation. Numbers book can be thought-provoking for environmental science or technology majors. First of all, the Greenhouse Gas Protocol by the World Resources Institute and World Business Council of Sustainable Development. This is contributed to the reader's knowledge of global warming and climate related to science, and allow them to identify existing problems and recent progress in solutions. Secondly, the article Gaining the Air Quality and the Climate Benefit for Telework by Frank Irwin in 2004 allows field workers to recognize pollution resources and establish ways for improving air quality. Thirdly, Durack et al. Mentions that global climate change suggests arid regions have become drier and high rainfall regions have become wetter in response to observed global warming. Low-lying coastal areas appear to be threatened by floods related to greenhouse effect. Hence, updated means of environmental protections should be studied by internationally cooperating experts to compensate for the human destruction, such as overuse of air conditioner and the shrinking of the wetlands. Bill McKibben wrote that eloquently of global warming as a metaphor for the end of nature, that industrial society has finally humanized nature, literally leaving no part of the biosphere untouched by human intervention. Pedagogical suggestions for this issue can be feasible auxiliary evidences of the above phenomena. Methods for resolving problems like planting trees, taking buses, and eating less meat can be suggested, discussed, and critiqued. Correspondingly, this academic experience and therefore enhances their academic careers. Students can use their own life experience and their own personal actions, showing how they can affect their surroundings in both negative and positive methods. As you can see, this globe is warming up, and the temperature difference turns to be less and less, even in the North and South Pole. From view of diverse perspectives on world issue, war is another complicated issue. War is very important, and it might last a while. Hopefully, not less than 2 years. World society benefits when there is a resolution of conflict among diverse religions, economic and political systems which may have resorted to war as a rapid resolution. The neutral discernment of various political viewpoints on war is perplexing task. The agenda of global politics is anchored not just in traditional geopolitical concerns, but also in a proliferation of economic, social, cultural, and ecological questions. To understand war, students need to do research into the historical backgrounds of the nation involved. Think about the conflicts and the resolutions, and learn how to express this thought for a clearer and deeper realization. Information about war can be obtained from a variety of mass media sources with a mature, guiding scholar holding an unprejudiced position. For instance, media in the United States of America and in the Arab world have provided two various types of viewpoints on recent Middle East issues. For instance, the conflict of Palestine and Israel. So while the Washington Post uses the lexical term coalition forces, this can be reported as invaders in Gulf times, but differently in BBC. The pedagogical significance of this task is to carry out learning from a variety of educational sources, emphasizing the academically non-aligned perspective of education. Reports can be from cable news network or routers in the Western world, written by English native speakers using standard English. At the same time, news released from Middle East, such as the military situation of Islamic State of Iraq and Syria on Gulf time, or Al Jazeera newspapers also could be read, allowing information from more opinions to your eyes. The neutral academic website, Wikipedia, can be recommended to students for somewhat neutral information. This forces students to comprehend a variety of resources and communicate their own ideas with classmates and teachers. So from different types of newspapers' view, you can interpret differently. Globalization is significant. McLuhan mentioned globalization brings considerable benefits for humans. Consequently, people with different histories, races, and languages welcome the globalization era. Wallerstein also argues human beings are pursuing a unifying living style with a new international order from economic, political, and cultural perspectives. A multitude of international organizations solve common problems. This has been discussed by several scholars. Education was elevated to a position of importance within the New Development Compact, in part because it straddles with equity and productivity agendas for globalization. Globalized educational concepts, therefore, are significant in post-contemporary society. In truth, which is created through social dialogue, will be only reached when different people's interpretations of the world agrees into peace atmospheres. According Mendel, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization and the European Union have been promoting international communication through lifelong learning concept. The LLL means lifelong learning process. Is gaining an increased importance in transnational policy arena, especially in the present age of globalization and due to faster changes at various levels in and around our society. Similarly, Christ and Christophe in 2011 stressed the interdependency of society by suggesting that the curricula in some parts of the world, for instance, offer explicit perceptions in existence of global interdependencies. For example, the curriculum standards for social studies formulated by U.S. National Council for the Social Studies states in a section titled Global Connection that social study curriculum should include experience that provide for study of global connection and interdependence. Likewise, the current international curriculum in the United Kingdom includes challenges facing the global community. For example, qualifications and the curriculum authority. It is becoming more and more apparent that the globalization process represent theoretically as well as practically a challenge for educational sciences, and therefore it must be addressed within the sphere of education. Recent research on globalization and education policy had indicated that the force of globalization and dominant ideologies have affected the nature and the content of historical narratives and social and political value of school textbooks. For example, many students whose first language is Chinese have become transnationals and are pursuing academic students in English. This research will discuss how English teachers should be prepared with knowledge of global topics for training university students to be global citizens. Talk about the meaning of globalization and its relationship with English. Modern society is multicultural. According to Burns and Roberts, the reality in most countries worldwide is that contemporary populations are multifaceted, multicultural, multi-ethnic, multiracial, and multiplurilingual. In contrast, world education theories see globalization of education as a process originating in the spread of Western educational ideas. No matter which perspective Taiwanese use to see globalization, foreign cultures and knowledge should be learned. Hence, English has recently been termed as English as an international language due to its focus on multi-common issues and world communication. Globalization as an ideology and political practice that entices people to push their ideas and products beyond the boundaries of their own communities. At this moment in world history, there is a commonality and necessity between globalization and English education. So why should global issues be introduced to language learners? Why? English language learners can use English language education to become equipped with sufficient and accurate knowledge from different nations and different sources. Furthermore, by learning and sharing, students might even be able to contribute their abilities to solve the Earth's problems. According to Mauro Leggio, in 2013, the university level, the globalization scholarship is amazingly developed. Researchers and students come from and go to all over
1,600
the world.
hours.
He discussed the principal aspect of globalization by tackling several education points of views, such as multidisciplinary, Anglo-historical, geopolitical, economics, financial, philosophical, strategy, and the social aspects. Talk about research contributes to present curriculum. There are fewer studies arguing the significance of globalization by Taiwanese scholars and even Chinese scholars. To understand the current concept of global cooperation, this study was conducted in the expanding circle. It is also applicable in the areas outside of English-speaking areas, such as Scandinavian or Latin American nations. In order to prepare global education materials associated with language learning, the researchers search for relevant information from online resources, plan and carry out a series of group discussions. This entire process examines how globalization education theories can be practically applied in a worldwide education context. The study integrates emerging topics structured by awareness of global trends with model curriculum and reveals a research gap that is rarely seen in language curricula everywhere. That is, the curriculum design of globalization education in this study associated with English learning is rarely found. In literature, scholarship on globalization, especially in the era of COVID-19, suggests that new forms of democratic citizenship and politics are emerging. Yet the U.S. educational system remains resistant to global perspectives in the curriculum and continues to favor nation identity and the patriotism over learning about the world. However, in the future, things might be changing and include globalization into required courses. Kumaravadulu says that cultural globalization is a huge elephant that has easily intrude the arena of education. From view of the small global village, inclination of globalization have transported benefits or influences for human beings in divergent districts who exist the universal town, where their faiths are connected with each other. In consequence, people from different nations have assorted attitudes and responses toward the globalization epoch, but mostly their proclivities and feelings tend to be hopeful. Reality requires most of people in the universal village to have unified living concepts. Meanwhile, people from different cultures are trying to appreciate each other through journeys, through religions, congregations, through life from Facebook, academic conferences, from Google Meeting, from Zoom, or business interactions online. Many developing nations are working towards the globalization goal of more sophisticated and civilized, emulating Europe, Japan, and America. Through globalization, communication in English naturally becomes fundamental and inescapable because it is a tool of universal contact. In order to update the English as a foreign language curriculum to accommodate to the neoliberal order in the simplified international social order, especially for adult English learners in university, English teachers are taking worldwide perspectives into communication in curriculum. Based on the theory of globalization, educators, students does not need to travel outside of U.S. borders to meet all the people or understand the issue of the global village. A scholar can gain knowledge of the world in his or her own classroom near home. Now educators are designing a curriculum related to all subject matters, encompassing global challenges. global cultures and global connections. The reason is that students have basic human rights to know their surroundings and the societal disciplines. About the significance of this study, global of different occupations has to be familiar with conversation topics related to their own specialities and also globalization in order to communicate with friends from other countries. Both teachers and language learners in universities of Taiwan contribute to homeland development through their preparation for the coming global epoch. English educators know that students in university should be informed with details about noteworthy globalization issues and how to properly keep up an international understanding. So from view of global education, the English versus diverse different types of cultures and the language beside English. In the non-violent, the third millennium, the university students should learn and think how they can be an outstanding members in this global village. Through professional knowledge achievement, outstanding English communication, and abundant understanding of cultures and customs. In this day of globalization, all educators are responsible for teaching global concepts. English educator should include the language, global issues, or world common problems into their EFL curriculum. And they have to inform students about world's multicultures. Different types of government systems and dissimilar concepts of religions existing in human beings in order to prepare for their future participation appropriately in worldwide organizations. Actually, the government and citizens of Taiwan are working hard to accommodate themselves to this contemporary international situation. The most obvious effort that Taiwan government has made as an educational policy administrated in 1999. This created mandatory English classes at an earlier age than before. Furthermore, besides tests of educational testing service, such as tests of English as foreign language and tests of English for international communication,